Hey, what is up, guys? Happy weekend. Flex Media here, bringing you yet another video on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. Now, this is probably, within the realm of the more impressive things I've ever done on Dokkan. I was actually able to defeat a category stage, and I don't know, man, I just had this sort of epiphany. I'm like, Resurrected Warriors, I think that's possible, no items. I mean, obviously other people have done it, but specifically for me, so I have a lot of these units. Number one, I have a lot of these units rainbowed. So if you're ever going to attempt, like, no item runs for any of those stages, you're for sure going to need a lot of dupe investment. At the very minimum, you're going to need 2 to 3 dupes, but rainbow is obviously going to be ideal. So this team is pretty straightforward. Essentially, it has a ton of attack lowering, and then it also has some healing thrown in there. So, for instance, lowering attack. Right now, we have, so we'll just go ahead and start with the category lead, and this is Int Angel Golden Frieza. And to this day, I believe he is closing in on being 3 years old. He's still pretty good. Maybe not quite 3. Maybe he's a little over 2 years. But anyway, he's still quite good. So essentially what we got with him. So number one, on his passive, he is straight up attack 150% and then defense 50%. So a start of turn buff is always going to be solid. And that usually means, so like if you're running support on rotation, he's going to benefit a lot from support type allies. So the other part of his passive is he is just sort of passively lowering superclass allies and enemies attack by 15%. So what I ended up doing is I ended up running one of them on rotation. Mine, I mean, they're both rainbowed, but I ended up running mine on rotation and then the off rotation with one as well. And what this did is every, 3 turns, or, I guess it would be every 5 turns or so, or whatever, we would get a double attack lower. And that was really nice. So before, any sort of items, before any super attacks, you're already lowering the enemy's attack by 30% on a, and actually, it really proved to be quite helpful. It really did. And then a couple of other things is, like, we got a lot of other units on this team lowering attack. And that really seemed to be the strategy here. And then just sort of getting lucky where super attacks land. So, the other thing is he is greatly lowering defense on his super. So, I mean, at the very least, he's greatly lowering. It'd be better if he were lowering attack and defense, but, it's okay. We have a lot of other units on the field that do that. So his running partner, very simple. It's one of the better tandems in the game, is Tech Golden Frieza, the one from the Resurrection F movie, Easy A. You guys know who it is. I guess he is Movie Bosses, correct? Yes, he is. So he is from the movie and not from the anime specifically. But anyway, so Tech Golden Frieza, I mean, we've been over 100, million times essentially, but I'll go ahead and go over him again. So Tech Golden Frieza, so he's got a really solid leader skill for Battlefield, Key 3, 120 to tech types, and that goes for all tech types, not just extreme tech. So that's really solid. Now on his passive, just at like the start of turn, he's getting 80% attack and then 80% damage reduction. And that is when your HP is 50% or above. So obviously 80% damage reduction is insane, and it makes him one of the best tanks in the entire game. Might be the very best tank in the game. For all events. Like, there are a couple others that come to mind, like SS3, Vegeta, the STR one. He's really good, but his passive runs up after 10 turns. Who else has massive damage reduction? Oh, of course, the AGL version of Golden Frieza. He's got a lot of damage reduction. He's due up for an Easy A as well. But again, one of the better tanks in the game. Now, when he falls below 50%, it's not a big deal because he's still getting damage reduction. It does decrease to 50%, But then he gets an additional 50% attack slapped onto his passive. So in total, that's attack 130%, and then damage reduction minus 50%. So that is obviously really, really good. So even if you do fall below 50%, it ended up not being a big deal here. Now, as you can see, we cut it pretty close at the end of that last round, but look what we got. LR Int Cell, who, you know, I've been over so many times in the past, but I guess, again, let's just kind of go over him real quick. We do have the time for it. So LR Int Cell. So sort of before his transformation, even though he is transformed right now, but before his transformation, he's actually one of the very, very best. Despite his faults, he is one of the very, very best in Super Battle Road. And the reason for this is, so number one, we know he's got the high LR stats. He's got attack and defense 80%. So, you know, his defense is going to be really good already, just from that. And then the lower your HP gets, he can get up to an additional 80% defense. So that's super good. And then on top of that, per enemy, he is getting key 1, and then an additional attack and defense 20%. So in all of these stages, he's getting an additional key 2, attack and defense 40%. So that already makes him pretty good. You know, and then when he transforms, again, in Super Battle Road, he's able to lower attack, as you just saw there. But when he transforms, man, he really does go up quite a few notches. And the problem is getting him to transform. You know, 30% or below is just, man, you just rarely see it. You have to, for real, you have to get lucky to see it, for sure. Transformed LR Int Cell. So right off the bat, number one, he's going to fully recover your HP. So from 30% to 100%, that's huge, right? And then he's going to get Ki +4, attack and defense 120%. And then the rest of his passive is based off of how many orbs you get. So 4 orbs, or well, I guess it would be 4 or 5 orbs, or, you know, Ki spheres collected. You're going to get an additional attack and defense 20%. And then 6 or 7, you're going to get an additional attack and defense 20%. And then if you get 8 or more, you're going to get an additional attack and defense plus 20%. So that's super good. When you can get him 8 Ki spheres, obviously, like, that's going to be the most ideal situation for you. He is, for real, very, very Ki hungry. But when you get him that 8 Ki spheres, so you can kind of start doing some math, it doesn't exactly equate out to just straight up 180% attack and defense. The math would dictate that actually you're getting a little bit more than that. So you're going to see it a little later in the event. We're actually able to get him a full 24 Ki super. And he just does, he can output some crazy, crazy damage. And then, of course, he's greatly lowering attack and defense on his super attack. You know, so once he transforms, he's very, very good. Again, probably not the best designed card in the world, but if you maximize him, he can do some very, very nice damage and defend very well for you. So, but moving on, we do have quite a few more units to cover. Here we go, AGL Tapion. So this dude is overall just a really, really solid unit. I feel like he's one of these units that just sort of flies under the radar and is just really, really good. So let's kind of go over him real quick. So number one, most importantly, on this stage, he is lowering attack on his super attack, which was super, super helpful. As I've mentioned, you know, probably 1,000 times in the past, but on SBR it really is. And then he gets 50% damage reduction. And then when his HP falls 50% or below, he's going to transform into Hirudegarn, who can't be touched, you know, except for Int UI Goku or another enemy that disables dodging. So I would say that is sort of a flaw in his card, because there are, you know, enemies that can disable dodging. So he's not going to have any defense if, for whatever reason, he can't dodge. But anyway, in this stage, we don't have to worry about that. And then after he sort of goes back to normal from his transformation from the Hirudegarn, he gets attack 150% and then defense plus 50%. So he proved to be very, very helpful. So here's the beautiful active skill. Currently, this is my favorite active skill on the global side of the game. This is only surpassed by the 2 fusions. So this guy, when the fusions come out on global, his active skill will be down to number 3 on my own personal list. But still really, really beautiful, of course. I mean, that again, when that came out, I was just in awe. Now, we collect all these green key spheres here. Obviously, we need any amount of healing we can get, and that was a significant chunk of healing. And then this attack, I kind of want you guys to hone in on this attack. By this int LR cell, and then this tech cell. This hurts a little. Yeah, 170,000, and we're down to nearly nothing. But his attack is lowered. 2.43 is pretty good for him. But his attack is lowered, so we're not going to take any damage on normals. 4.45 million, no support on rotation. Now, one cool thing is on this stage, LR int cell is going to actually share key links, if you can believe it. Because if you get him to transform, number 1, he gets the revival link. So that's really, really solid. Most of these units have it. So that's cool. Tapion did, you saw there. That's why we were able to get that 24 key super. But actually, he's going to share Ultimate Life Form with Tech Cell. Now, Tech Cell, to this day, has one of the toughest EZA battles in the game. So, you know, he's actually quite difficult to get, especially if you're a newer player. Now, that doesn't mean you don't try, and it doesn't mean you don't, you know, it doesn't mean he sucks or anything, but he does need his EZA to be good. But what he does, so, you know, his leader skill is whatever. You know, it's a little on the old side, so it's not very impressive compared to modern day EZAs. But his passive is still pretty good. So he's getting attack and defense plus 15% per key sphere obtained. And then he's getting 2 key for every rainbow key sphere. So that's really cool if you get him a little cluster, and then you also get him a couple rainbow key spheres. That's obviously, you know, going to bode very well for him. Now, one of the biggest reasons I brought him is because actually he heals on super attack. So he's going to heal you up 10% HP every single time he supers. So, you know, giving him additionals is not going to be a terrible idea for you if healing is your main priority. You know what I mean? Which, if you're running difficult events, then it probably should be. And his defensive stat is so high that he's going to tank extremely well. So unless you're up against like an int type enemy and you only get 2 or 3 key spheres, I mean, you guys know how it is with nuker units. You need a lot of key spheres for him, right? And that does sort of become a problem, especially when LR int cell transforms, because then they both become key hungry. Now, at certain points, I prioritize LR int cell supering, and then at other points, I prioritize tech cell super attacking. So it just depended if I needed to heal or if I wanted to, you know, get a big chunk of damage away from these guys, because obviously they're, you know, int cell is going to defend very, very well against these opponents. And again, especially if you're getting them a ton of key spheres. Okay, so here we go. We get another int cell transformation. We were extremely low on HP there, so obviously at this point in the battle, I already know we have it in the bag. You know, now here we go. I missed out on all of the tech key spheres for tech cell, but obviously for good reason, right? Because we don't need to heal up any at this point. We just fully healed. So I'm going to prioritize a super attack for LR int cell, and we almost get him that full 24 key super, where you get an additional, I believe it's an additional 30% attack if you can get him that full 24 key. So definitely a significant amount. And then we're still able to get a fair amount of key spheres for tech cell there as well. Now, AGL Metal Cooler is, I love AGL Metal Cooler, especially for something like Super Battle Road. So on his super attack, he's going to, wow, 3.59 is pretty good. So on Super Battle Road, or events where attack can be lowered, he's going to lower attack and defense on super attacks. Now, this was a little scary to have him, because I knew this last phase was 2 tech enemies. But I figured having his transformation in our back pocket was always going to be a plus. So it's never really going to be a detriment. Other than that, you know, it does take quite a bit of time. But not as much as Hirudegarn's. Going through all those little dodge animations, the time you guys probably saw it really starts to rack up on your runs. And then there we go. But, you know, luckily the attack was so low. He is only going to take damage on super attacks. So that was really nice, of course. Now, in no way is AGL Metal Cooler bad. I like him quite a bit. However, he is getting up there in years, believe it or not. He's aged fairly well. But on some of the extremely difficult content, like Legendary Goku, I mean, for instance, or like the new stages of the Infinite Dragon Ball history, which are actually quite challenging. I cannot wait until they come to Global. Soon. Probably in April, I would guess. I don't think they would give us 3 dual Dokkan Fests in a row. So I don't think it's going to be like, okay, we get the Dokkan mode here. We obviously don't need the healing right now, but, you know, really it's going to do some good damage. But anyway, back to, I don't think they're going to give us 3 dual Dokkan Fests in a row. So I don't think they would give us Majin Vegeta and then SS3 Goku. I don't think they'd give us them in June. Probably we'll get them in, probably after the Saiyan Day stuff, I would guess. That's when we'll get them. But anyway, back to AGL Metal Cooler. So he's just straight up attack and defense 80% at the start of turn. You know, pretty good. He's got some decent stats, although I would maybe, compared to some newer Dokkan Fest exclusives, they're a little on the low side. But, you know, again, that attack lowering is kind of a big part of his card. So he's going to be much better defensively if you can get the enemy's attack lowered, which is why he's not the greatest in Legendary Goku event. But anyway, each time he gets attacked, you know, super or normal, he's going to get an additional attack plus 10%, and that is up to an additional 70%. So again, it's not exactly 150%. It equates out to a little bit more. But so he's getting, you know, roughly, you know, 160, 170% attack, and then on top of that 80% defense. He's pretty good when you combine his attack lowering. So anyway, guys, he's quite good, and of course he transforms, and just an overall really solid unit. And then another big part of his card is his leader skill is just, it doesn't get any better. It's key 4, I think it's key 4 170. It might be key 3 170 to the Wicked Bloodline category, and then he's giving key 3 and 90% to AGL. So you could realistically run like Turles on his team or something like that. So, or any strong AGL unit you could run on his team. But ultimately, guys, you guys can kind of see at this point, we're just sort of whittling down SS3 Goku's health. I don't think at any point we're really in danger. Now, the only thing that would have killed us is a super attack on the end. Against AGL Metal Cooler, I think for sure we would have died. I think that would have been over a 300,000 super attack, even with his attack so lowered. I really do. So we're able to get some really nice damage because his defense is so low now that, like, even on normals, our units are going to be doing quite a bit of damage. So it turned out that this run, it actually did not take me too many tries. And then here we go. My favorite active skill currently on Global. You know, I believe this is how we're able to end this event with no items used. Obviously, LR Int Cell, in my opinion, was the MVP of this run. Him being able to full heal us 2 separate times just really was the difference maker there. It can't be denied. I love LR Int Cell. I can't wait till I really want to pull some dupes of him. I'm going to go ham on that Gogeta banner during the 5-year anniversary. But there we go, guys. Resurrected Warriors, no items used. I am impressed with myself, I guess. But slap a like if you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing if you're new. Let me know how your luck is going, and I'll catch you in the next one.